Welcome to the Reticle Up podcast, where I, Three-Gun Kenzie, will be interviewing competitive shooters, hunters, fishermen, archers, entrepreneurs, and outdoorsmen. Come learn with me as I interview people from all walks of life, in different disciplines, all across the world, from novices to professionals of all ages. No matter what, everyone has something they can teach you, so come join me on the journey. The Reticle Up podcast is produced in partnership with AmericanFirearms.org. American Firearms' mission is to recommend what works. We believe everyone deserves access to unbiased, helpful information about firearms, and our buying guides, product reviews, and learning resources are designed to help real people find the stuff that will work best for them. Check us out at www.americanfirearms.org. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Reticle Up podcast. I'm sitting down here with Gabby Franco. She's an Olympian, a competitive shooter, and a huge Second Amendment advocate. So Gabby, I'm so excited for you to join on the podcast. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Kenzie. I'm excited to talk to you again.
This will be a blast. And I saw for those listening now too that you've done a couple other podcasts as well. Do you want to talk about any of those episodes that you've got out?
Yeah, most of them have been part of the Second Amendment. I mean, there's a lot of going on, not only, sometimes like here, I'm now in Texas, and everybody's like, oh, I live in Texas, the free state, but at the end of the day, when you realize we are just a whole country with a lot of attacks in the Second Amendment, Michigan, obviously New York, California, but then you have other states and you're like, oh my goodness, they keep attacking and stuff. So I've been talking a lot about the Second Amendment, why it's so important to people. How can I say this? It's more like it's not easy to be out there, what I mean, and be in the public eye. Like I am here, you are. We talk about these things, and we get as good and positive feedback. We get nasty ones, and you have to develop that thick skin to deal with that. And luckily for me, I'm like I know how to handle it. But at the same time, that makes people sometimes to step back. And I think that's not necessarily the approach. I think the ideal is to find what are you good at. Yeah. Whether it's talking to your neighbors, to your family in a very friendly way, trying to embrace them towards you instead of being so blunt in the ideas that they immediately reject you. So that's kind of has been my message. And part of it is that one of the things that frustrates me the most for both sides of the aisle is that we go into this idea of that we're going to go to war. Everything is like a war. Everything is like a battle. And I have seen that, like in Venezuela, how people went so, like this, so disruptive in their conversations that didn't create anything.
Right.
Didn't create anything good. And in fact, just destroys and erodes even more the society. And so that's the part I'm like, well, we need to find a different way of doing things.
Yeah. I don't know if this maybe surprises you, but there are, Americans that have less of a voice than you do as someone that came from Venezuela. And I feel like this is the regard when it comes to maybe like carrying a gun every day or just getting into firearms. It's like, why does it take something happening for us to want to go get trained, for us to want to pick up and carry a gun, right? Like someone that we know close to us or ourselves, has an incident where it's like, now we need to protect ourselves. And I feel like you see what happened in Venezuela or have seen that. And for you, it's so passionate, whereas Americans, we do take it for granted. 100% there are people out there that take it for granted. And I will speak to the masses on that, right? So why do you think like sometimes that's the case? Or how can people be more proactive in protecting what they already have because they don't know what could be taken away?
Well, I think part of it is human behavior. Okay, how often our parents say, don't do this because this happened to me, and you shouldn't follow that path. And what the kids do, and not even kids, even adults, okay, even as adults, we go through that path. And then when it happened to us, we're like, oh, you were right. So I think it's partly human behavior. Venezuelans were the same way. That's why the reason Venezuela is the way it is because many people didn't listen to Cubans. Like I have Cuban friends who warned a lot of people at the gun range, and people were so dismissive. Like Cuba is an island. It's just a tiny thing, Venezuela, with the largest oil reserve in the world. That something like that would never happen to us. Now, magnify that to the United States, right? They say, oh, Venezuela, oh, please, that little country, that is nothing compared to us. And the problem is that people think that we're comparing, but there's no comparison absolutely in anything. Going back to the previous analogy with your parents, their experience or in your experience will never be exactly the same, but there are enough similarities that you would say, I wish I would have listened to my parents. I wish I would have listened to this person. So the same thing happens here. The problem is that people think as a equal to equal thing, and no, it's just when you see the signs, right? You say it's very close, very similar. So one have to be aware of, and like I'm saying, it's just how many things you are not paying attention,
right,
because it's not really close. It doesn't, hit you close, doesn't hit close to you. And most of the time we dismiss that kind of activities or behaviors until you find yourself in that conundrum, which is, let's say I don't like guns, but my neighborhood is getting full of crime. What do I do?
right.
Now do I have to, now I know I have this right. I learned, because there are many people don't even know what is truly the Second Amendment. And I think that's one of the part of the problem is lack of education on that aspect.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And I know you've spoken to the public before as well. Where are some of these places, like if someone feels strongly and wants to speak up? We've talked on this podcast before in the past about emailing your representatives. I know social media is probably a hit or miss on putting anything on social media. That's just, it doesn't move the needle, right? But what are some more impactful ways that people maybe can get involved, or some organizations that are doing that work?
Well, definitely supporting organizations that that it has to be organization that you see they're trustworthy, they are reputable, and that you can support them. But also comes in the house, and I'm gonna say house as your home, but in your community. So to give you an example, I gave a speech in Michigan, and after my speech, a lady came up to me and she come up and said, "Gabby, I need your help." I'm like, "Sure, how can I help you?" And she's like, "I have this lady. She is the chapter leader or something of Moms Demand Action." For those of you listening or watching, Moms Demand Action are very huge advocates for gun control and all these ideas. And so she was telling me, I need her to understand. I want her to understand. I don't get to make her see my point of view. And she's, talking to me and how she can make this woman come to our side. And I just looking at her, so passionate. And I said, listen, you have so much energy and you're wasting it trying to convince one person. Instead, what you can do, and I gave her these ideas, I said, instead, what you can do, you can be part of, benefit your community by bringing, for instance, offering seminars for how to teach parents how to deal with having firearms when you have children, right? Educate the parents how to keep their guns safe. Do seminars about, because I say seminars because you can bring more people than just a shooting class. Educate more people about the safety, about the law part, doing that. And what you're doing there, you're focusing your energy on education, spreading out the word. The vast majority of the people that you are reaching out, they're going to be like, okay, I'm learning, I'm being educated. And there's going to be a point where they will reject the other side's point of view without you even. And maybe that other person would eventually say, you know what? After hearing and talking to my peers, yeah, I understand now why, being educated about firearms, the Second Amendment is so important. And so the problem is that sometimes people butt head against that person that is so against us, instead of using that energy to widespread the information towards others. And at the end of the day, it's the same energy, but it will have better results. And she was like, yes, I can do that.
Yes, yes. No, I agree. I've met a lot of people in the middle with like firearms. Like I even in grad school, it was a great experience because for grad school we had people from London, South Korea, Australia. We had a lot of people, come over, and I was blessed that I'm from America, right? So we went to the
Right.
range one time, and all I did was teach them firearm safety, firearm basics, let them shoot a little bit. Puerto Rico, that was another one as well. And there was one person that came up after, and she said, "Thanks for teaching me. I still have zero interest in firearms, but now I know how to handle one. Like I feel a little bit better by being exposed to it. I see why you enjoy it and like it." But the fact that she even met me and was willing to
Right.
try and like learn and still was, like, oh, I don't want a firearm myself. That's okay. That's your choice. Like, I was just excited that she actually was open to just learning, you know what I mean? And just being there. That's a huge step. So,
And I think that, for instance, what you did there, it will touch her life in ways that you will never know.
yeah.
Because at the end, in the future, she may be a gun owner, most likely.
Oh,
But at the end, I also tell people, even as we shoot and we, have fun and all that stuff with firearms and go to the range, competing and all that stuff, understanding that it may not be like with that lady you were mentioning, is firearms is not for everybody. Like motorcycles are not for everybody. Like so many things are not for everybody. So I think the problem is that sometimes most of us are so passionate.
yeah.
They were like, yes, you have to try. Yes, you have to do it. I'm like, yes, that's important. I think most important teaching people why the right is important to keep it,
Yep.
whether you like it or not.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. So I mean, I love that all of that passion comes across, and I'm glad that you're a voice, a very strong voice in the 2A community. I hope more people can get involved. I think it's really important. I think too, just female perspective of all of this, because I do teach a lot of women, and it is a great equalizer tool. Having a firearm, I just feel that much more safe, even though I never really feel safe. Right? It's like
Right.
have a tool that at least like if some huge dude comes at me or female, you never know. Like these people that are out there, or even animals. So there's a lot of reasons to carry a gun that we could go into, but just knowing that you have this equalizer tool
Right.
with you is really important.
And I want to say something, you know me in person. I'm very real. I mean, I will say my flaws as much as I will talk about my successes and my strengths. But it's very important for people, like when I started talking about that it's difficult to sometimes be in this position, speaking out. And I recognize there are people who do a lot more than I do. I also recognize, for instance, there are certain things that I'm still hesitant on doing, like testifying. It shakes every part of my
Yeah.
body when they tell me, okay, Gabby, we're considering you for testifying. And I still don't think I'm ready. And I think it's okay. Meaning, what I want to convey to everybody who's watching and listening is that it's okay if you don't feel ready to do something, speaking out in front of people, or doing something that's completely out of your comfort zone. But don't just keep your mouth completely shut and don't express yourself. There are different ways that we can do it, whether writing letters to senators, writing to the city, councils or whatever. So there are different ways that we can participate. You just have to find yours, and I think that's very important. Also, no, you know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely. Yep. My world is definitely not that speaking up as much as educating. I love educating. That's like my lane. So, putting on my
Perfect.
women's event, yeah, it's like I just want people to come out and shoot and be confident and not forceful, but I do try to get everyone to shoot a shotgun and get the guns. But I'm like,
Yeah.
listen, like it's possible to handle these guns. They're so fun, and that's the other thing I want to go into is the fun aspect of it too. Is that it's okay, to say firearms are fun to shoot, right? Like, yes, they are
Right.
very powerful, but what we do on the weekends, people look at and are like, holy cow, I can never do that. But we all started somewhere.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so I want to take you back to what was your very first shooting competition? Do you remember that?
Oh my God, I don't. I probably don't. I mean,
Blocked it from your memory.
hey, we're talking 20 plus years ago,
I
okay? So it's a long, long, long time ago. But I do remember, oh my. Yeah, now you put him in a hot spot here because I don't. But I do remember though, the first competition who that was very not meaningful, but that changed literally my life. After that competition, I didn't win gold medal. I think I won a third place. It was a national competition in Venezuela, and it was one of my first major matches in Venezuela in air pistol. I used to shoot air pistol, and happened to be that was they were selecting the national team, and so I got third place. And the Venezuelan Shooting Federation was hesitant on keeping me because I was 16, I was very young, and it was to go to the Bolivarian Games in Peru, 1997.
Cool.
And yes, and so it was very interesting because everybody, who supported me, the president of the shooting association in my city, my parents, my coach, and everybody were so supportive. Like, no, you have to take her. You have to take her. And mind, I was just a girl. I've never traveled in an airplane. It was going to be my first, trip in an airplane. I mean, going overseas. And at that moment, I just realized, wow, this is awesome. And I will tell you why it was awesome, because when I turned 15, mostly in 15, in South America, we have the quinceañeras, right?
Yes.
And so my parents asked me, do you want us to send you into a tour to Disney World, or you want your 15th birthday party? Like the bumps and the big party. And even my coach remembers this. When I told my parents, I said, no, I want my 15th, my quinceañera party, because I will travel with shooting. I will eventually travel with shooting. And exactly a year later, when I was 16, I got to go to Peru, my first international competition in shooting. So yes, I said that was very memorable for me, because it was like, okay, I said it and it happened.
Did
But it was very surreal for me at such a young age, seeing how such a sport that it's not a mainstream sport. It's something that you don't see, especially air pistol,
it.
and yet it could be so powerful to to teach you how to be so disciplined, responsible, mind focused, like very goal oriented. I mean, I can keep on going on things that that I got from Olympic shooting, but at such a young age, it was wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that shooting sports and any sports, I mean, if you are truly dedicated and you have a dream or a goal, like it does teach kids to be very responsible, and it teaches them lessons outside of, again, shooting, right? It's like camaraderie, being a good teammate, being a good, I guess, enemy, right? If you're shooting against someone
Yeah.
you don't like, how do you have that good sportsmanship? So I think there's a lot that, I mean, I grew up in sports, but not shooting, and taught me a lot. So
Right.
your Olympic journey too, because I've never shot any air guns or anything like that.
Hmm.
Um, after you shot Peru and everything, what were you kind of feeling at that time? And then how did you keep going to try to do more?
I guess, and in that point, I'm not going to say the word addicted, but I was just like, it was surreal for me going, like I'm saying, that was my first ever traveling from my city to Caracas, and then Caracas to go overseas. And then in that match, I won a silver medal. That was my first trip and my first international medal. And I came back home feeling like I really like this.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the competition. I really want to keep being part of the national team and travel the world such a young age. I was fascinated by it, and trying to grow too, trying to be better. And that's basically what made me fall in love with the shooting sports, was that or at least air pistol, that it was so simple. I mean, the target doesn't move, the shooter doesn't move, we shoot offhand like this. I mean, talk about how difficult could that be, right? And then it turns out that it's one of the very, very challenging disciplines in Olympic shooting. I mean, I think they're all very challenging,
They
but
are. They're so
I guess
hard to master.
I guess I'm biased because I was a pistol shooter,
Yep.
but again, it was just that thing of, I'm gonna keep on training. I'm gonna keep on training. I'm gonna trying to do it better. So yeah, it's just fascinating. I never imagined going to the Olympic Games. I always thought Olympic Games were for super athletes, like superhumans.
Right.
I was just a teenager.
Right.
But it just happened. And after I won a medal at the Pan American Games, I won a silver medal. And the funny thing is that time that Peru competition, I got silver medal. I got silver medal at the South American Games, silver medal at the Central American Games, and then I won again that silver medal at the Pan American Games. And when that got that medal at the Pan American Games, that was Canada 1999. I was so kind of disappointed. I'm like, wow, when is that goal gonna come? There's a point when you don't see sometimes the good because you're so focused on something else and you're like this, right? And then after, I knew I got the second place, my coach, everybody was like, you did it, you did it. I'm like, yeah, I know. Silver again. And they were like, Gabby, no, gold and silver are plaza to go to the Olympic Games.
That's awesome.
That's when I learned that emotions are subjective and you can switch from being super sad to super happy in fractions of a second. Literally. I went from frustrated to I wanted to eat the whole world. Like I was in cloud nine.
That's amazing. I mean, that's incredible. So
Yeah.
everyone's celebrating and you're like, oh, I should be happy.
Yeah. Right.
But you qualified. So, qualification after that, did you turn up your like training or anything or like freak out or like when did it finally hit you that you were going to the Olympics?
When I was at the Olympics. Yes. It's not like how can I say this? It's not like I didn't believe it. It's just unfortunately, like many things in life, politics takes place in sports too, as you may know. Politics, and so I did have a very strong, fighters behind me because there were another male shooter whose the father wanted his son to be, and it was a whole battle trying to take my spot and all that stuff. So I'm not gonna go into all that. Don't focus on all that stuff. But yeah, it just always kept me Olympic shooting in so many different aspects. In my experiences in Venezuela and my parents too. Thankfully, my parents always kept me grounded.
Yeah.
Always kept me believing that no matter how many medals I won, no matter how many awards or positions or whatever name you want to call it, Olympian, medalist, whatever, I was still me, a human, a vulnerable human who could be injured a week before the Olympic Games. So I was making me humble enough that you're not a superhuman, that you can fall, you can be sad, you can be frustrated, you can have depression, but at the same time, you can be strong, you can be happy, you can be positive. So always keeping the balance is what always kept me going. But keeping in mind that until I was there,
yeah,
I wasn't there. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like anything could happen before that.
I think a lot of athletes go through that, yeah, especially with like injury or travel or sickness, or you don't even know, what could happen.
Yes,
that's really cool though. So you get there, and how did that go? What was that experience like for people that are, people listening to this podcast? They're probably never gonna go, right? Like, so what does that look like?
It was surreal. Just going there, having your credential, it was one of the best experiences ever. No matter where we went, then no matter which country or whatever you were coming from. That was in Australia, Sydney, Australia. Wonderful country, beautiful city. Everybody was like, I don't know, we were like superstars there. Everybody wanted to take pictures with us. Whatever we wanted to go, we just had every entrance. They were like, yes, come in, show your credentials, you're an Olympian. So it was like living it was like a constant party, but no party, obviously drinking, but I'm talking about a celebration, I should say. It was a constant celebration from the moment I arrived to the moment I left, somewhat because I didn't win. I didn't win it. But it was definitely something I still remember, cherish. I mean, the spirit, even at the villa, inside the villa, the Olympic Games, all the athletes, it was just like, it was almost like we are just a smoosh of people who were trying to do the greatest thing in the world, and we're just celebrating that.
Yeah,
So I really like that. I was super nervous,
I bet.
like shaking nervous, uh, but I did enjoy my experience for sure.
That's awesome. I think the camaraderie too. You like you said, those athletes would be cool to experience. And like, did you keep in touch with any of those people that competed with you?
I do some. Well, many of them were friends on Facebook.
Yeah.
That's a funny thing because I tell people I have friends all the way from, you know, Mexico down to Chile, especially Hispanics that
Yep.
we still keep in touch. Some are retired, some don't do the sport anymore, but we're still in touch. Yeah,
Awesome. I love that. Um, cool. So Olympics. Now,
yeah.
next for you after that was kind of a big deal, I guess. I don't know the gap in between, but like you went on Top Shot.
Yes, yes. Well, most people don't, most people here know me from Top Shot, right? They know like the Top Shot, which is the tip of the iceberg
Right.
when I'm there. But before I went to Top Shot, I was going through one of the most difficult times in my life, where I was lost my job. I had a lot of debt. My ex-husband literally thought I was a woman with no motivation, and he went his way. Then divorce. I mean, you name it. I was like lost in the world. Then I found a part-time job. I was starting to uh, start my career as a firearms instructor, but I was very new. And then my brother sent me a link about from Top for Top Shot to apply for Top Shot.
Mm-hmm.
And as you and many people, I was a fan. I had watched season 1, season 2, and I was like, I don't do this. Like, why they would pick me, right? But then like life goes. One day I was on in social media, Facebook, I think, and the advertisement popped up, and I said, okay, let me check. So I saw that I had to send the email, and then long story short, they selected me, and it didn't hit me that I was in Top Shot, to tell the truth,
Yeah.
until we are in the house. I'm wearing my jersey, and we're talking, and I'm seeing everybody with their jerseys and all the cameras here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh my god, I am on the other side of the TV. That, I kid you not, that was the first thought I had in my head. Like, I am on the other side. Like a week ago,
Mm-hmm.
I was the spectator. Now I'm here. So that was also something very very interesting. But I had shooting friends who kind of discouraged me to apply for Top Shot during that time. Yes, and not for the bad reasons. I actually think they had the best. Yeah, I know it's not so, but I do believe they had the best, and I know they had the best intentions, because up until season 3, well, until my season, most women were eliminated in the first 2 and 3rd episode. They never passed 3rd episode. And so they were saying, Gabby, you're starting as a firearms instructor. If you get kicked out, people may think that you're not a good shooter. You're gonna ruin you're
Before
starting
it
to
starts. Yeah.
rebuild, right? Because I was kind of rebuilding my life. But I thought about it. I'm not gonna say no. I thought about it, but I was in such a dark spot in my life that I thought, you know what? I have absolutely nothing to lose. That even if it is going there and get eliminated on the first episode, I could say I did it.
Yep. Yep. 100%.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I do believe life is all about experiences.
Yep.
Yeah, you can think about success as money, as this, but what are the experiences that you get from it? So, and that's why I said I'm just gonna go and do it.
How much did you love or hate being on TV?
I actually, it's funny because at first I liked it. escaping, like filming and all that stuff.
Mhm.
I liked it. It was annoying a lot of things, having the cameras all the time. Like if I'm talking with, you know, with Chi, he was a very nice friend, and he was there. We talked a lot. We kind of connected in a very nice way. And as soon as we started talking, the camera will appear. And we're like, okay. So that was the annoying part. Another thing was that we had the mic, so we had it on like a belly band.
Yep.
And we had a mic there and stuff that hold the whatever the equipment.
Yep.
And sometimes they say, you cannot take your mic, whatever. I'm like, okay, I'm going to the bathroom.
Yep. Yep. It's a different world being on a film set. Like, I've been through that. I don't think I enjoy TV at all because it didn't come off the way that it happened, right? Like, I'm sure similar experiences. So for me, like, the authenticity was kind of gone.
Well, I hear, obviously, there was a lot of things of, okay, stop, cut, a prop fell. We have to fix it. Cody, 1 inch to the right. Cody, 1 inch to the right. And we're in the sun like this. Okay, come on. I mean, there was a huge production. I can tell you there were probably 67, 70 people at the time on set. But I did have a good time. Actually, I learned a lot. How produce a lot of things, B-roll and all the stuff. So I also saw it as a learning experience. But I really liked it. The interesting thing, which I think I did it on purpose. So if you go to Top Shot, I don't know if it's still on, but if you see the Facebook page of Top Shot and you see our season and the contestants, all the contestants on season 4, the first pictures that they released, what they call the hero pictures. Well, this is another story, but everybody has guns but me. So, me being Venezuelan, so fluffy and stuff. When we're doing the first day of the show, it was just the intros, pictures before we even got to the meat of things, right? And so they said, okay, tomorrow we're gonna do the video and filming. So guess what? What did I do? Earrings, wedge, girly shirt, pretty it out. Yep. And when I get there, everybody's tactical, the tactical pants. And I'm thinking, oh my God, these people are thinking that I don't know how to do this thing. I just came here to just show up. And so the funniest thing is that when we go to the hero shot, it's in the middle of nowhere. We grab them, and I'm just walking with my wedge, like, do not fall. And so when they release the pictures, everybody looks so cool and tactical, so serious. And I'm like, with my nice outfit, you can imagine the comments I got.
I'm sure.
She's gonna be the first one. I think they did it on purpose, like that. I guess the underdog. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that was my first experience of having, like, I would say, hate, comments. And I was very thankful that my parents were with me, and they were like, you know what you did. Just relax. Wait until everything unfolds. But that's when the thickness in my skin began to develop.
Yes. I like the way you say that. That's for sure. Oh, that's awesome. I can't imagine. Yeah. Not, I don't know, looking the part, I guess, or just like feeling so uncomfortable. You're like, nobody prepared me for this. Like, could have sent an email, wear some tough shoes. Like, what are we doing?
Right. They sent pictures, and obviously I'm full makeup, girly. And so I just could imagine everyone's faces, like, oh, here we go. The girl that has to be here but doesn't know how to shoot or something. But it was so funny.
You proved them wrong. Because now you're a pro level shooter. So Top Shot, I think, helped put a lot of people on the map. Like, this was before social media suppressed people online. People
Right.
would go, and the follow growth, I mean, just went through the roof. And I'm
Right.
envious of that experience because I think that's really cool. I, again, hate television, but I think there is value, especially in the gun community. We'll never have a TV show like that on major
Mm-mm.
cable ever again.
Right.
Not happening. So that was a cool experience. But then I mean, I know you've shot IDPA, USPSA. I'm sure Steel Challenge too. What other like shooting competitions have you gotten into?
Well, now PRS.
Oh
I'm
God, isn't that
enjoying.
fun?
Yeah, I really like it. It was. I did my first match of 3 weeks ago. I put my primary arms optic. It's a PLX5. I think that's the name of the
Okay.
scope. I really like it. But newbie elfing. Remember, pistol shooter, no rifle shooter, right? I went out, zero my rifle. You took the turret, fix it, my zero, put it back on. Well, guess what didn't I do? I didn't lock in the turret correctly. I mean, tight enough. So when I went to the match and I started, dialing in for the next stage, and then my turret went like loose. I'm like, and then click, 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 click. And I'm like, how many click, 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 clicks was that? And then, well, long story short, we couldn't zero the rifle because it was not, they removed the 100-yard zero. So I couldn't do anything. The closest target was a like 8-inch, 340 yards something. We couldn't get it in. I had no idea. And I was about to go. I was like, that's it. And like all I needed was my little violin. Because my husband had come with my little one. And I said, and my little one came to say, watch me.
God.
And then I spent so much time trying to zero my rifle that the people in my squad keep on moving. They had to keep on moving, right?
Yeah.
So the squad behind us, there was one guy who said, his name is Matt, I think, and very nice. I mean, super awesome squad. He said, you know what? I have a rifle in the car that needs to be shot. Do you want to shoot the rifle? I'm like really? Like, really? And he gave me his rifle, and it was beautiful rifle.
Yeah.
Wonderful rifle, but 27-pound rifle.
Yep. Welcome to PRS.
I was like, what? So, but I didn't. Obviously, I had 3 stages, 2 that couldn't even shoot. 1 stages that was 0 because my rifle had lost the 0, whatever, or I lost the 0. No, my rifle, I lost the 0. But I was very thankful for him to let me shoot the rifle because I didn't leave the match defeated. That even though I was shooting with someone else's rifle, learning on the go, learning the scope, the reticle, the rifle itself, I was able to shoot whatever I aimed. So I was like, okay, I can do this. So
what about the ammunition though? Like what caliber, and like did you have to use his ammo too?
Yeah, he let me use ammo too. Well, I think he made his calculation. He probably thought, she's tiny. She probably cannot move the rifle that much. She may not shoot that much. Here's ammo for you.
Sure. Okay, PRS has been a whole different world. I actually have a PRS match coming up in a couple of weeks, and yeah, I'm shooting like a 30-pound rifle, and I'm twice your size probably, and I still am struggling to move this gun. Yeah. It's too long. You got the suppressor on the end of it too, and like I've already hit it on a ceiling, like moving from one position to another because it's the whole length of the building, and I'm like, dude. And then afterwards, I look at my arm, like from the bolt and from like literally just having to travel from one stage to the next, like my whole arm is covered in bruises, and I'm like, this gun beat me up and looks like, and for you to do that, Gabby, that's impossible.
Yeah, no, they were very nice. He let me the ammo, the rifle. I mean, you can, and that's the things that I really love about the shooting community. Even the peer, I mean, these people are, I've never shot that before. I lived in Virginia. Yep. I've never known people known in Virginia. Well, I know some people who do it, but I was there. I didn't know anybody personally. And they were so open. Like, Matt, just right there. Here's my rifle. Here's my ammo. Use everything you need. Like, he gave me 100 rounds. Like, boom. Then we have the other guys telling me, no, aim here, aim there. Very open to help. So
awesome.
I really loved it. And I do have that rifle was a I think. I'm not sure. I
Sure.
think it was a 6.5 Grendel.
Okay.
I was shooting my rifle is 6.5 Creedmoor,
Yeah.
6.5
Do you
Creedmoor.
factory ammo or do you reload?
We reload.
Okay.
Right now, I still have some reloads my husband bought a long time ago. But then we realized that when I chronoed, that the standard deviation was like 60 uh, feet per second. It was too wide. So,
Red. Yeah.
uh, yeah. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start now. I have that brass. Start
Yep.
doing my own load and use that for practice, I guess, and having the other one for matches and stuff like that.
So,
But I love it.
have you considered doing the pro am, the gap grind match next year in PRS? Have you heard about that?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna have to show you about this offline, but it's a where you would be an amateur and you'd be
Mhm.
proed with a professional. So I'm
Okay.
shooting this in October this fall, but maybe for
Uh
next
huh.
year, you you basically go and you get to learn. So you have a professional shooter that
Ah.
shoots every stage first. They have a different, harder like course of fire.
Okay.
Then they coach you completely on the clock. So hold left wind, hold left edge, move
Right.
this, hold higher. Like here's the bag, here's the gear. So I'm paired up right
Right.
now with a pro that's teaching me all the things. He's helping me with the gear setup. Like I'm using his backup
Right.
rifle, but it's something where it's like I'm learning from a
Right.
professional. And I know we have like pro am matches for pistol and for like 3-gun and stuff, but to truly put on like a PRS pro am like that where you're able to coach and mentor, like
Mhm.
it makes a lot more fun and a lot more easy to kind of get into because I don't expect to do well. I would just like
Right.
hit a target would be great.
Right.
You should look into that.
Okay. Well, you send me the link,
I will. I will.
and and
Where's the
and
link?
and I'll like to look at it for sure.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm excited for you to get into PRS and learn stuff because I think you and I are similar in like learning is that we just want to try it all, shoot it all, learn all as much as
I
we can.
do.
Yeah.
I love. I think learning something new is it stimulates your brain in so many different ways. That's why you see me even that just had surgery. I still go shoot because I know my brain is functioning in a different way, at least shooting wise, than it used to when I could run and shoot.
Right.
Um, but we'll see. My husband is active duty.
Yep.
He's in the army, and he just accepted a position that requires a lot of things. So my travel, it's gonna be it's challenging. It's gonna be probably reduced tremendously. So we'll see. We'll see
Yeah.
what things I can travel, but definitely if it's in the Virginia area, metropolitan
It's
area,
always in Tennessee. It's one
then
major match a year, but it's
okay,
something where you're paired up the whole year, or you can work with them the whole year. You could do dry fire,
okay.
right?
Oh, nice.
But the one match, I mean, this whole match is going to have like half professionals, half amateurs, and they're separated by prize table, but they're also separated by scoring and different course of fire. So it's really fun
Okay.
for the amateurs like me to just at least be in the running for something,
Yeah.
you know. So, um, you glossed over it, so I want to go back to that. Is people do and don't know, but you had surgery, gosh, on your knee. You are now
Yes.
recovering from knee surgery and still going to Carry Optics Nationals because you are
Yeah.
stubborn, but also, you can do it. So, what does that rehab look like for you? Like, how much longer do you have to really get that back up and running?
It's a very long process. Okay. I recovered very quickly. I mean, from week 2 weeks after surgery, I was walking without my brace at home
Yeah.
until I got my go to be on the street without brace after the third week. So I've been ahead of the game big time. And it was like a huge improvement, and then it's like a plateau, which is a frustrating portion where every millimeter on your range of motion and all that stuff. But I like what you say, stubborn, because many people, when I show my progress, everybody's I can see them, literally I can imagine them like, oh, what are you doing? Don't go to the gym and injure yourself. But I have different way of thinking per se. Most people think on what could go wrong. I think on the possibilities. What can I do and go and do right? Okay. So it, I found out that even the few matches I have had, very few, even area 4, that holding your adrenaline is a lot harder than just let go and finish at the stage like I have a bunch of mics, but I have fun. You know what I mean? It's harder to hold your adrenaline and control everything. And I have learned through life. I mean, mind it, I may look the way I look, but I have my mileage. I have learned through life that the very things that we struggle with, the very things that we fear, the things that are not the norm, are the things that we need to tackle and perfect. For instance, it's not almost like human behavior going into a battle knowing that you're gonna lose.
Yeah.
And be happy and do your best, even though it is almost written that you're not gonna do that good.
Yep.
Okay, that it tackles your ego, it tackles you emotionally. It's so many things. Seeing how people, you see them striving, like in my case, right? I see everybody running the stage and all that stuff, and you know that you cannot go at their part. Like I cannot do that right now. And to me, those are what I call my mental gym. It's my mental gym. Okay. We are used to often training our physical body, when you go to the gym to reinforce your biceps. But what do we do to strengthening our mindset, our brain? And so basically what I'm doing is this. I know I'm not literally not allowed. That the doctor told me you are in a very vulnerable position because you feel so good that you can re-injure. Like right now, I was about to post a video where you can see me hopping and doing stuff, and you say, "Man, you can actually run." I'm like, in a controlled environment,
Yeah.
I can do this. I can do this exercise. In a quick, sharp movement, it's anyone's game. You know
Right.
what I mean? I can keep my knee on control, or I can lose it all. So my doctor said, no, don't do it. So this, to me, this process going to area 4, going to nationals, if anything, is part of my recovery. I think we pay too much attention on the recovery on the piece of our body, like my recovery on my knee or my recovery on my calf. But what is that mental recovery that what can you do to not only recover mentally, get strong mentally, but battle those emotions, battle those thoughts, and that's what makes you stronger.
Yeah.
And just you think about it. Oh no, I'm not gonna do it because A, because B. Especially something that you know that you're good at.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Something, because like you said, when we did PRS, you're like, I'm nothing
Right.
here. I have nothing to expect. It's easy.
But
it's something that
you're good at. You've shot. Yeah, you want it. You worked hard for it, and now it's like, ugh.
And it has been a battle, especially. I'm gonna tell you why. When last year's nationals, that was my last year of college. I graduated. Final class was in March. Graduated in May, but my final class was in March. And after nationals last year, I was like doing matches, going back to the hotel and studying, writing papers. Yeah, I've done that for 4 years. You know who knows about my life as a shooter and student? Athena Lee. We used to go, when I lived here in Texas, we used to go together to matches. And I would wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning. We'll stay in the same hotel, and I will be doing papers because we had to be at the range at 7.
Yeah.
So I had to write my paper, and all that stuff. So when I finished last year nationals, I was like, okay, this is great in the sense that having training, but with everything in life. But then I thought, then March, when March comes, done with school, done with everything, I'm gonna go, down, and this is gonna be a game, And then a month later, I torn my ACL completely. And it's almost like that dream shattered. Like, oh no.
Yeah.
And then comes March, surgery, and I knew I was not gonna come here. So imagine that thought of my goal was coming this year nationals, being like that strong athlete, that strong competitor, and I'm completely the opposite.
Yep. Yep.
And that struggle, that mental struggle, that thing of saying, no matter what, I'm still gonna go and battle with those emotions. I think that is what makes you a stronger, not athlete, because athlete is something we do, and that's a small portion of my life, but it makes you a strong person.
Yeah.
And so here I am, 2 days from now. I will,
Leaving for
I will,
Ohio.
I will keep tell the arrows, watch for my lightning speed,
You should
and
just
then
wear
go.
the flash. Oh my goodness. You're going to have a blast though. And I think that, I think a lot of this too, I don't know if you agree with this, but when we push through some of these hardships too and keep going, we're setting an example for the younger generation or younger women or just anyone who wishes they could accomplish what we have. They have the capability and the potential to do so, but they don't have that mindset to push through. So when they see us doing these things, right, I think it makes it a little bit not easier, but it does set an example for people to know that it's possible.
It is. And I always tell people, I mean, don't sometimes they think, because I'm an Olympian and I'm a very strong-minded person, but it doesn't mean that I don't have my weaknesses. That
Yeah.
I don't have my moments where I doubt myself. I go to these matches and sometimes I'm like, what am I doing here? You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's not that the constant mental battles don't exist. It's just you through this process, you learn how to say, yeah, that's fine, but I'm here and I keep on going. And so, like what you're saying, I think it's important to also know that yes, we set an example, but also recognizing that we're still humans.
Yeah.
That we also have our fears, we also have our concerns. It's just how we learn to manage them through these practices. To me, this is a practice. To me, this is a get go. This is to me, this is a moment where I'm building my toolbox.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know what I mean?
We talked about offline a little bit about mindset too, and you already said like you're a strong-minded person, but like do you practice? I get that the practice is going to nationals, even though like you're not being able to, do something that you want to do to the full capacity. But the
Mm-hmm.
other mindset stuff, like are you reading books or like how else do you kind of work on that at home?
Yes. So meditation is one. I think meditation is very important. Believe it or not, before matches and in general, try to do it. Sometimes I don't do it every day, but I try to do it most of the time to do meditation. Remind myself who I am, that I am human, that I make mistakes, but at the same time, I am capable. There's so much to like. I always tell myself I cannot run, but I can shoot. You know what I mean? So there's always but I can do this. Reading is very important. My bachelor's was in psychology, so that has helped a lot. So I read a lot of mental books, not only in athletes level. I've read books about golf as a sport, and the psychology in golf are very good. Psychology in different type of sports. It's always important to see how we are so relatable to other sports, even though we're just do shooting. But I tell people, reading, understanding, knowing is not enough. You must apply, right? And so what I do, it has to be a daily day. Remember that what I say, my gym, like my mental gym. Your mental gym is every day. Your mental gym is you hit yourself with something. It was something stupid. And instead of saying, oh, I'm dumb, I'm stupid, I'm this. No. Well, there's a reason, and this is what I do it. That's your mental gym. Everything that you say to yourself, everything that communication goes, that self thought, your brain takes it as serious. You say you're dumb, you say you're stupid, and you must be one of those. And somebody cut you off on the road, and you're like, no, control that emotion. As hard it is, the harder it is to control an emotion, and you do it, then you have to remember, okay, I am at my mental gym. I am working on my mental strength. So yes, reading is important, but I would say there's a lot more that you can do in the daily things
Oh yeah.
um, that challenge your mind, your emotions, your core, how you respond to people, and that has more value than anything.
Yeah. I think people forget that people are people. They're going through their own things. And like or if they're at their work, like I see people blow up at people all the time at like UPS, like simple stuff, right? Where it's like they're
Mm-hmm.
just trying to do their job. So like for me, I kind of laugh, apologize ahead of time, like this is not your problem, but I have this problem, like, and it's like, what if you're on the other end? So I think if people just realize like they're just trying to get through their day, they also have, things on their mind, and this is their job, they're trying to help you. Like, let's not make it any little harder than it.
Right, right.
The world would be a better place.
Right. It would be. It would be. I think it would be if we understand that our world, we, okay, it would be better if we understand that what we see and perceive through our own lens,
Yep.
through our own world.
Yep.
There's so many things that you, for instance, how your attitude change when you see somebody that you don't like, right? And then you see their friends. Maybe their friends have nothing to do with that person, but just because that person is there, you may be more stiff, more short, more this and that, and the other person missed that opportunity or to know who you really are. So I think it's important understanding that our world, the way we see things, is not it. It's not all. It's not the whole picture.
Not just that, but then we see it through our own lens. But then when you think about people on social media, right, it's like you also see what they want you to see. You see it through their lens of how they wish their life was. So I'm sure you get messages and stuff all the time too, where it's like, or even comments where people are like, oh, you're lucky you get to do this, or like, oh, your life's so easy because you get to do this all the time. It's like, you see kind of what I want to see, but you don't see any of the hardships. You don't see the work that goes behind it. Like, and we earned this, where we got as well. So that's the other stuff that's pretty frustrating, is like we all have our own stuff. Don't think that it's just one way just because that's how you see it.
Well, I would say, what I would tell you is, it may be frustrated, but don't be frustrated.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, sadly for that person, it's a short-minded person. You see what I mean? And that's one of the things I've learned through going through years and years being up in the social media, is that generally speaking, those people who come with those kind of thoughts, that kind of mentality, they are very short-minded individuals. The typical person who see somebody who's a lawyer or have money and say, oh, you are rich and because you do this. But you think, okay, how many hours in the wigging for how many years that person worked to get to where they are?
And
so
they invested
to that point.
A lot more in themselves, like in the education side of stuff. I mean, it's like, I know, because I have a master's degree. I went through a ton of schooling to get there. I've been working for 10 years to get this tiny little tip of the iceberg, like you kind of mentioned before, right? Like it's just, it's interesting to me, but people are people. But I think I just wanted to set that kind of tone, is that there's a lot that goes beyond what we've been doing. You already mentioned it. You're up at 4 a.m. just to do classes, to still shoot a match because you love shooting. You want to do that.
Right.
You still have a career, profession, education. There's a lot that you've got to do as well.
Yeah, for sure. And family, a little one.
A little bit. Yeah, just, the family, the husband. No big deal. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Which brings me to this, because I'm excited that I have this. I think you earned this cover. So for people watching or listening, Gabby was on America's First Freedom. So she's got her jersey on, a rifle on. This is incredible because she does talk a lot about Venezuela and 2A rights and stuff. But Gabby, what does this mean to be on the cover of a magazine?
Well, if you look, if I see myself before I came here to the United States when I was 21 years old and thinking that I was moving to the greatest country in the world. And I say that with with the truth and with my heart, because at that point I had already traveled about 15 countries or so. So I have traveled quite a bit, maybe not as much as the whole world, but quite a bit, to know that I was moving to the greatest country in the world, just seeking to be free and to do what I wanted to do. And being here where I am, it shatters all the ideas that this country is either racist or this country is it's just BS. Here in the United States, it's a country where you can achieve, you can do whatever you want with hard work, with determination, with dreams. Let me tell you something. When I decided to be a, when I was in that hard moment in my life before Top Shot, even before I applied to Top Shot, like I told you, I had a part time, and then I was starting to become a firearms instructor. I always ask the question, "What do you want? Like, what do I want? What do I want?" And when I said, "Okay, I don't," because my whole life I was just a athlete, right? Even to that point, I I said myself, I don't know to do like work wise many things, but I know how to shoot. I went to the Olympics. I think I can teach one or two things. And then I said, yeah, and then I said to myself, I want to be known as one of the best instructors in the country. And I can tell you this, I didn't know how that was going to happen.
Yep.
I didn't know if that was going to happen, but I had that in my heart. And seeing that magazine, it's just a reflection to me. It's just a reflection of that truth, the truth that this is a country of possibilities.
Yeah.
You know, and mind it, up till right now, you can hopefully you can understand me, and I'm being eloquent. 4 years ago, before I started college, you probably I couldn't be able to talk as fluent as I'm talking right now. And so it's just a testament of what the possibilities that there are in this country, and I'm so thankful for it. So if anything, that's just a reflection of that truth.
Yeah.
And so when I hear, and I have to say that I'm in a sense blessed that I didn't grow up with those ideas, limiting ideas. Oh, you're a minority, then you are. I didn't grow up with that, you know. So I grew up like any other person. I can do whatever I want if I work, if I do A, if I do B, if I have dedication.
Yep.
And that comes to here, and I'm here. So yeah.
That's amazing.
And that's basically what I talk about in the magazine, even though I talk about the Second Amendment, but I also talk about how easy it is for people to take for granted their freedom in ways that most people almost like, it doesn't touch me. Let's say like in Texas, like I said before, oh, we're in Texas, doesn't bother us. But at the end, yeah, how gun control creeps in, because that's how it does. And I have a crazy theory, okay? You can call it many things, but I do believe, and this is probably the third time I said in the podcast, and I'm gonna keep repeating it. I know, because again, it's one of those things that now they come true. Okay, so this is my theory. My theory is that gun control advocates are, even though they keep pushing at the federal level, they're pushing more at the state level. Okay, they know that the federal level is very little they can do, but they can do more on cities, they can do more on states, and we see that a lot more, like Colorado, Washington State, Michigan, and so on and so on and so forth. So why is that relevant? Because you may say, oh, but I live in Texas. No big deal. I live in Florida. No big deal. Everything is good. But I'm like, why is that irrelevant? It's because, friends, the Second Amendment, like any other amendment in the Constitution, is not 100% sealed. It can be changed. It can be amended. It can be, something can come up. Let's say they don't touch it, but they can put something on it, something extra, another amendment. They can create another, like the governor from California. What is his name again? Gibson?
Yeah.
Him.
I don't remember. I'm bad with that.
Right. He was proposing. So why is it so important to do the battles in each state? Because they need the votes.
Yeah.
And the more you eradicate those gun owners or those freedom loving people to other states, you may say, okay, they moved to Texas, they moved to Florida. But then you're gonna create this. This is the problem. You're gonna create societies in many states where they won't know. Young people don't know what is the Second Amendment. They won't know what is the benefit of it. And guess what they're gonna do? They're gonna vote against it.
Yep.
And so you have to look as a citizen of this country. Don't look at us as just a citizen of Texas, citizen of Florida. You have to look the long term. If we go this path, will the Second Amendment survive in 10, 20 years, 25 years? Remember, these people are patient. They are patient. Socialists are patient. They just little by little, they're just creeping in. So there it is.
Yeah.
You make of it whatever you want to, but that's my thought, my humble opinion.
Yeah. And I mean, there are people, like, I feel like I'm very fortunate in that I think about like moving, and I can move anywhere I would want to, and I get to choose like where I would want to go because I work for myself and I'm able to be flexible with not having family or what have you, right? But there are people that have to live in those Michigan, California, those states because they have family, they have a job and a career that they can't afford to leave and move, right? So we are leaving people behind too that don't have the means to escape some of the stuff that's happening. And that's where we need people to kind of stay and speak up. And, you know, now we've even seen the effect too, I'm sure, Gabby, where they're moving to these other states with the same beliefs and then destroying that city and that state. And it's becoming worse too across the board. So there's
I agree.
A lot of going wrongs ish in it's crazy. I don't know how to fix that for sure, but it's bad to watch.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I just think that people should be aware of those things.
Yeah.
You know, should be aware of that and finding ways that we can help those states, those who are there, who have organization, how can we support them? You know, whether it's Illinois, whether, you know, support those states as much as we can.
Yeah. I mean, even like when I went up to Michigan, like EOTech just bought new headquarters not long ago. They have this whole infrastructure. They employ a ton of people. They can't afford to shut down and move because that state's not supportive of gun rules, right? So it's very hard for infrastructure and for companies, even though they would love to support, you know, states doing work, they can't. So there's a lot that people think about where they're just like, oh, screw those people or those states or those businesses. It's like they can't leave. They also employ a lot of people.
Right.
It's hard to watch.
It is. It is. But, you know, it is. I think this is the last standing country for what we believe, for truly, for freedom, for gun rights, for everything.
100%.
And I could keep on going, but we wouldn't end.
I like this though. I like this a lot. So for you too, I mean, like kind of wrapping it up here on a bow. What does like the future for you look like beyond, I would say, like coming off of the surgery and recovering? You know, what are some goals that you have, whether it's a year, 5 years, or 10 years from now? What does that look like?
Well, there's many things in the bucket. Like I said earlier, my husband just apply or was accepted in a new position, and that changes a lot of things. There's a lot of work on his hand, which means that, you know, as a military spouse, a lot of sacrifices on my end too. So I'm like in this shaking moment that what can I do? But I always make it happen. So one of my goals is like I have creating a company. I have the name and everything, which I'm not going to say until it's all built up. Part of my goals with that is creating content in English and Spanish.
Awesome.
I want it to be full English and Spanish. There's no real Spanish speaking content out there, reliable content that could bring this community in. But also obviously English, because here's where we're at. And I also want to do trainings for military spouses. I live on a military base, so in Virginia. So that's the big goal I have. Keep training. Hopefully, it takes a good 4 months to start learning to run properly. I guess that's how it's called. I don't know, but it takes about a year. That's my understanding. The full recovery from my knee. So I do expect that for next year I'll be ready to go for nationals and ready to, keep on going what I'm doing. But I'm still in that process because I just got the news like this week that my husband finally got the position, and that literally shakes a lot of my pieces, but I think that, I think of it as the greater purpose.
Yeah.
And what we do as a couple, and him as serving the country. So yeah. So hopefully I would have a better answer soon.
Yeah. But you don't know.
And,
I mean, you can still have your goals, but just don't know where they're going to take you.
Right. Well, representing the company support me so greatly, like Walther Arms, Primary Arms. They have been great supporters even through all this ordeal. So I'm very thankful. I always say, oh my God, they may say, that's it, we cannot take it anymore. And I'll be still thankful forever.
For sure.
But they have been wonderful for sure. They know that I represent them with honor, and wherever I go, they know I put my heart and my soul in everything I do. So we'll see.
100%. Great companies, and I've been a Walther girl for a long time. Love their firearms, and love working with Chris up there too. So that's a great company to be in.
For sure.
Awesome. Well, and Gabby, how can people follow you on social media? What are your handles?
Yes, so you can follow me on Instagram, and Twitter is Gabby Franco TS4, which is Top Shot 4. And yes, Facebook, also have my page on Facebook, which is Gabby Franco Top Shot. Not surprising. On my website, GabbyFranco.com.
Awesome. Gabby, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom and energy and passion. I can't tell you enough how excited I am for this episode to come out. A strong female leader, because I look up to you too. So thank you for all that you do. Thank
you. Love being here with you on the show.
Same. Awesome. Well, listeners, stay tuned next week for an all-new episode. Go follow Gabby. If you have any questions, too, on any of the gear, the guns, what matches she's got coming up, she will reply, which is amazing, and help you out. So thank you for that as well.
Thanks for listening to the Reticle Up podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Follow along on social media at Reticle Up or 3 Gun Kenzie.